Having completed a wonderful couple of days in Nagahole National Park, we now head west to the sea. Our drive takes us through the dry, deciduous forests of the Nagahole Tiger Reserve. Our destination is today's Thalassery, or yesterday's Tellichery. It was one of 25 towns which had their names changed in 2012 by the Indian government. Tellichery was an international trading hub for spices, attracting Chinese, Arabs, Dutch, British and Portuguese traders over the centuries. The route passes through a number of towns on the way, which gives us a chance to see how people live and their shops, and we find it fascinating.
No, it's just there's a number to check the balance.
The journey takes about 4.5 hours to travel the 80 miles or 130 kilometers. Not a very high speed, but you'll see why as we hit the Western Ghats. The Western Ghats are a chain of mountains stretching from Gujarat in the very north to Kerala and Tamil Nadu in the south, running approximately 12 to 20 miles inland or 30 to 50 kilometers inland, parallel to India's west coast, some 1,600 kilometers or 1,000 miles. The road is actually quite narrow, for 2 vehicles in each direction, and it is very, very windy, as you'll see in this footage.
Cool.
Speed isn't of the essence, and there are quite a lot of hairpin bends as well. The Western Ghats are older than the much better known Himalayan mountain chain to the north of India. The Western Ghats are of immense global importance as they influence the Indian monsoon weather patterns. The Ghats act as a barrier, intercepting the rain-laden monsoon winds that sweep in from the southwest during the late summer. For those who suffer from car sickness, it's not the ideal route to go down, but it is picturesque and spectacular.
I'm okay. Do you want to stop here? No, I'm okay. No thanks, it's fine.
A significant characteristic of the Western Ghats is the exceptionally high level of biological diversity. This mountain chain is recognized as one of the world's 8 hottest hotspots of biological diversity, with some of the best representatives of non-equatorial tropical evergreen forests in the world.
It's going to be straight. They're going to start another side.
On our trip, we wanted to experience different Indian homestays, The first homestay was aimed at more the backpacking type travellers. Our driver proved to be absolutely invaluable to us, as he spoke several Indian languages and could stop and ask the way, as there appeared to be absolutely no signposts anywhere, and quite how an Indian traveller finds his way is hard to believe.
You're going to Cochin.
She's long.
Cochin.
Cochin train, yeah. If you want to take a shortcut to Cochin or one doors to get.
No, this is not a car. I'll tell you.
This is it.
But I suppose, knowing the languages, he can do as our driver did to get us down these very narrow lanes and back streets which we couldn't believe even existed, let alone taking us to our homestay.
Come to the sea. On the sand. Oh, at this rate, the sat nav was telling us we're nearly on the sand. Primary school. Now what do we do?
You must go back.
He must go back, okay. Because he knows where he's coming from. He knows about it. There's some sea. Some sea. There is some sea. Some sea. Well,
Photograph looks familiar. Those rocks on that. So is that it?
So this is the end.
is it this one? This is the end. This is the end. Aren't you getting stuck?
Oh, that one. That blue one there?
Difficult to tell on that picture because the picture's black and white. Is that the blue one?
Our plan was to spend 2 nights here, allowing us to explore Thalassery or Tellichery of old, and then to Kannur. I hope I pronounced that properly, which is slightly to the north.
Right, I'm going to come another
Tellichery over the centuries attracted Chinese, Arabs, Portuguese, Dutch, English, and later the British for the trade in spices. Spices could command huge prices in 17th century Europe, said to be more expensive than gold. The process of finding a sea route from Europe to India cost thousands of lives, with dozens of ships lost in shipwrecks. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, was the first European to reach India by sea, arriving there in May 1498. His journey took over 2 years, from 1497 and back again in 1499. The English East India Company was created on the last day of the year 1600 by English Queen Elizabeth I to trade with the East Indies. It was given freedom for all duties for the first 6 voyages and a British monopoly for the first 15 years. The English traded on the Malabar coast for much of the 17th century. They established a trading post and built a factory or trading station at Tellichery in 1694, having gained permission from Arakkal, the Prince Regent of the Raja of Colonial. Sorry for the pronunciation. We have to remind ourselves what a factory was back in the 17th century. It was basically a trading station called a factory where goods were collected for transportation by sea, not as we know a factory today. In order to safeguard their trade activities and with the support of the local Cooperative family, the English built a fort at Tellichery. By the 18th century, Tellichery was the third largest city on the western coast of British India after Bombay and Karachi. A lighthouse marks the site of the old redoubt. The fort was once the nucleus of Thalassery's development. Tellichery was also famous for cricket matches played between the Europeans and local teams in the town on the nearby shore, which used to attract enormous crowds during those days. This is a centrally protected monument under the control of the Archaeological Survey of India since 1921.
Portuguese names here.
Now we head off to the Tellichery fish market. Just yards from the beach in a white-tiled, open-sided building with rows of purpose-built benches and numbered pictures. There's salted and cured fish, tuna, eel, shrimp, baby shark, mackerel, as well as a whole host of other creatures. An impressive window into the marine life of the Arabian Sea. Lots of friendly neighbourhood banter being exchanged between customers and stallholders alike. This fish trader, tongue-in-cheek, said his lady customer was his sales lady.
So, do the selling.
She's frightened of it. The mood in the alleyways surrounding the fish market is equally energetic, cheerful and rowdy.
So it's weighted.
Yeah, it's got leads all the way around it. That's the one that the guy down.
So it's not floating, it's sinking.
Yeah, it's sinking, and they throw it in a circle just like that. And on the East African coast, they used to do the same. And that guy at the where we're staying.
Yeah, took the picture.
Yeah, and they do it long.
It's got to float in the middle. If they float in the middle, the weight's not be closed.
Yeah, yeah. It probably doesn't need anything in the middle because you've got the string.
We enjoyed watching the fish coming in off the boats. About as fresh as it gets, straight from the boat and to the customer and buyers. We love the fish market. Everybody's extremely friendly. Considered it a compliment that we wanted to capture their world in video and photos. What truly lovely people they are. In the evening, we headed off to look for a local shrine that was suggested by our homestay hostess. Two local girls, the Dutch family's daughter, staying at our homestay, enjoying the sea.
Nowadays, so many people stop smoking. You're always the only person with a fire. Because it's the law of the country says it's just not allowed in official places. Many oil lamps.
Are you coming to evening?
They come in the evening here.
Yeah, in 6 o'clock.
And why so many lamps?
I don't know, they are putting, they are will put this. That's why they are all going to put some oil and they are firing.
And light it.
And somebody coming, they will put money also in there. Look, that is 10 rupees. Okay. Bye-bye.
Today we drive a short distance up the coast to Kannur. It was here in 1498 the local Thalassery king granted the Portuguese navigator Vasco da Gama land to build a factory from which to trade.
Mosque, this one's a
Is that
mosque.
mosque here?
He was the first European to reach India by sea, thus opening up trade with Europe. Back in the 17th century, large parts of what we call India today were ruled by the Mughals. The Mughal dynasty was founded in 1526. Mughals were Muslims who came to India from Central Asia. It is interesting their rule started after the arrival of the Portuguese in India.
For establishing commercial relations with the Portuguese, the king of Colonial offered a site to construct a factory at Kannur. During the second visit of Vasco da Gama in 1502, he built a palisade with the permission of the Cooperative Raja, and 200 Portuguese soldiers were stationed at the factory. During the period of the Portuguese, in order to isolate the fort from the mainland, a water moat was constructed. Fort St. Angelo is one of the most important shore forts of Kerala. It is situated by the side of Mappila Bay on a cliff protruding into the Arabian Sea about 3 kilometres from the town of Kannur. In 1663, the Dutch captured St. Angelo Fort from the Portuguese and made modifications to the fort. Then it was sold to the Ali Rajas Kannur in 1778. Later, the British seized the fort in 1790 and enlarged to become the most important military station in the Malabar coast. The epitaph to Susanna Weyman, first wife of the Dutch governor Godfried Weyman, died 28 March 1745 at the age of 17 years, 7 months and 16 days, recalls the possession and position of the Dutch fort. The Dutch built the horse stables and ammunition house inside the fort. The cannons that are used by the Portuguese and the British were kept inside the fort. The cannons are fixed to the merlons and bastions of the fort wall, pointing towards the sea.
We're now going to learn a bit about the Arakkal kingdom that ruled Kannur from 1545. They came to power 50 years after the arrival of the Portuguese. The Arakkal Museum is housed in the former King's Palace, which was purchased from the Dutch 18 years later in 1663. The building was named Arakkal Palace after this ruling dynasty. It's Kerala's Muslim royal family. The first Raja was Ali Raja Ali in 1545. There are a number of legends regarding the origins of the Arakkal kingdom. How a daughter, Arakkal Raja, began to drown while bathing in the Arakkal pond. Her friends cried and shouted, but they were unable to reach her. Muhammad Ali heard the shouting and came to find out what was wrong. He recognized the girl was drowning in the pond was a princess, but hesitated about saving her because he was an untouchable, a lower class person. If he touched an upper class person, it was considered a sin, possibly punishable by death. Despite this, he went ahead and rescued her, giving his dhoti to cover the princess. When the news reached the Arakkal Raja, he called his daughter and Muhammad Ali. At a time the man gave a padava, a long cloth used for covering the body, to an unmarried woman, they were considered married. The scholars of the court told Raja that since his daughter was touched by a Muslim, she was no longer allowed to enter the palace. However, the man had given her his padava, so she is married to him as well. As per the custom, the Raja had no other choice but to give his daughter to Muhammad Ali. The area given to Muhammad Ali was known as Arakkal, and his family were called the Arakkal family, and hence the Arakkal kingdom.
I'm very sorry, madam. There is no parking here.
No problems at all. We just have a look. That'll be fine.
There's too much stuff anyway.
Follow him!
Now off to the sweet shop. In India, we've become addicted to Indian sweets. They are far superior to anything we get in the West. There's such a variety, and each area seems to have its own.
Made by pineapple.
Right.
It's always an experience going into an Indian sweet shop. You never quite know what there is, what the tastes are, and here we are again, spoiling ourselves with a range of sweets to eat back at our homestay. We now drive just over a mile or 3 kilometers east of Kannur town to a large building occupied by the Loknath Weavers Industrial Cooperative Society Limited, one of the oldest cooperatives in Kannur. Formed on the 18th of April 1955 with 88 members and 52 looms. Since that time, the number of looms have more than doubled to 126. While the membership only increased by 3/4 to 155 members, reflecting the productivity gains over this time. All members are engaged in the production process from spinning to dyeing, testing, weaving, stitching, packing and selling. We see the whole process of weaving. It is fascinating. What is lovely is that this is a cooperative, so everyone here has a share of the business. Any benefits as well as the risks are shared by them all. The tour is free. Of course, we visit their shop. Their products include curtains, cushion covers, table covers, runners, placemats, napkins, kitchen towels, kitchen aprons, pot holders. Also a good selection of bedspreads, pillows, bath mats, which are also available for export.
He always negotiates. I think they're trying to make him pay a lot of money.
We were invited to attend evening worship at the local Hindu temple. While Hinduism is the world's third largest religion and has been called the oldest religion in the world, we know very little about it, so we were intrigued to learn more. After the visit, I did some research to try and gain a better understanding. This is what I learned. A Hindu temple is a deity's home. It's a place where the devotees visit, just like someone visiting a friend or a relative. It is designed to bring human beings and gods together. Hindus believe in the continuous cycle of life, death and reincarnation, and karma, the universal law of cause and effect. The Hindu temple itself follows a geometrical design, a symmetrical, self-repeating structure derived from central beliefs, myths, and cardinality and mathematical principles. Three of the most important components are circle, mandala, the dwelling structure, the vastu, and the purusha, the core of Hindu tradition. One of the key thoughts of Hinduism is Atman, or belief in soul. This philosophy holds that all living creatures have a soul, and they're all part of the Supreme Soul. I find this really interesting and probably explains why my perception is that Hindus look after fellow creatures on earth much better than most other religions. The temple design has a circle which circumscribes the square. Circle is considered earthly, human, and observed in everyday life. For instance, the moon, sun, horizon, water drop, rainbow, each supports the other. The square is considered divine for its perfection, symbolic part of knowledge and human thought. The priest's primary responsibility is to conduct daily prayers or puja at the local temple 4 to 6 times each day. Unsurprisingly, he also has a big part to play during Hindu festivals and weddings. Most Hindus believe that humans are in a cycle of death and rebirth called samsara. When a person dies, their Atman is reborn in a different body. Some of the tasks involved in a temple is looking after the deity, and I find it interesting that every morning the pundits are in charge of bathing the deity with water and milk, clothing the deity with traditional wear and jewelry. After conducting the ritual, the priest offers food to devotees after it is presented in front of the god referred to as the prasad. Whilst the prasad is being handed out, the priest as well as the devotees engage in singing prayers, praising the deity. Priests finally conclude with the arthi, lighted camphor shown to the deity and held in the presence of the devotees to receive blessings. A Hindu priest would repeat this routine every day as part of the responsibility in serving the god. Next morning we get up and we head off across the Western Ghats to Bandipur National Park. Abby, our driver, pointed out some pepper plants and we'd never seen them before, so we asked him to stop and have a look, and they grow on a vine, hence the famous Thalassery peppers. As mentioned earlier, the reason the Europeans were so desperate to find a way to get to India were the spices, and our next stop we have a look at cardamom. It's lovely to see a cardamom plant.
Oh, that's a lovely looking shop, that one. VKM vegetables. No, it was just beautifully laid out, you know.
There's sort of a
Super
competition.
What do you think of it?
Very nice. Very good.
Thank you.
As mentioned previously, we love Indian sweets, and the variety is incredible. It doesn't matter where you are in India, there appears to be a sweet shop, and the variety of sweets is ever changing. And Abby, our driver here, is collecting us some sweets, so when we stop at Bandipur National Park, we've got some sweets to tide us over a few days.
This one is sweet. Yeah. You're looking with
Oh, do I see Hugh on the other side of the road? He is coming. Yeah, he has got a bag.
The other resource we love is the fruit and the variety of fruit, very affordable, and here we're getting a supply again to tide us over while we're in the national park.
This is
We wonder what Bandipur National Park will have for us, and that'll be in the next video, so we look forward to seeing a whole variety of wildlife.